is the most popular item here in the British Museum. The significance of this piece is that it's the key that opened a whole world of knowledge to the world. Before they had this, they couldn't translate hieroglyphics. This is the piece that has 3 different languages, and the top one is hieroglyphic, and the 2 bottom ones are translation of it in different languages. Hieroglyphics is very complicated because it's all based on images. Like imagine like writing something in emoticons, right, in emojis. If they didn't find this, we will be in the dark about many things about ancient Egyptian history. This opened the world to our understanding of many other items here. A little bit of extra knowledge opens the door to a whole world of understanding. This is why they're putting it here as a center item.
And we need to keep digging. How many of these ancient sites in Iraq should we really be digging and getting our hands on?
Right.
But they're deemed spiritual zones and places that certain people aren't even allowed to set foot.
That's one barrier, and another barrier is that the safety and a lot of war-torn area. A lot of these items are also getting destroyed, and also they're making it very difficult to discover new items at the same time. In the event last night, Douglas Murray mentioned that a lot of people criticize their ancestors and their past without studying their past.
We may be living in an era when we are discovering that the Enlightenment and the Enlightenment's values never went very wide and didn't go terribly deep. The leap into pure rationality, there's no evidence yet that it's going to work. And we may be in the midst of the discovery that the only thing worse than religion is its absence. They're stampeding to create new religion all the time at the moment. Every new heresy that's invented. And they're not as well thought through as past heresies. They don't always have the bloody repercussions yet, but you can easily foresee a situation in which they do.
Right,
I mean, a new religion is being created as we speak by a new generation of people who think they are non-ideological, who think they're very rational, who think they're past myth, who think they're past story, who think they're better than any of their ancestors and have never bothered to even study their ancestors.
Right. So, but
I think what he was trying to say is that we can't just dismiss stuff like Christianity, ideas and customs that worked for generations, right? And I think that's a fallacy. That's like a logical fallacy. Nothing just because something has been with us for a long time, it doesn't mean that it works. I think there's a misunderstanding. A lot of people confuse appreciation of history and our past with the fact that if those ideas are something that we need to adopt today.
Yeah.
We can learn from history, we could appreciate history and our past, and at the same time acknowledge that these ideas are not the best way for us to run our world today. The more you look at history, the more you realize how valuable a lot of these modern values are. I would challenge Douglas and I would say, no, we have looked at our past, we have studied our past, and we are better today.
Human beings seem to have an addiction to tradition. And you have to ask yourself, if your wife or your spouse has just given birth to a baby boy, and you're deciding whether or not to genitally mutilate that boy, and your only answer is tradition, is that a good reason for anything?
We're in the Enlightenment room here, and these books here and the thinkers that it represents, these are responsible for a lot of the so-called Western or modern values that a lot of the speakers that you have at your events argue about. Even last night, I remember Jordan was kind of mentioning that the Enlightenment movement, a lot of these values actually the roots of them weren't that deep. And I think a lot of people underestimate how much these thinkers here have have had an impact on a lot of the rights, a lot of the peace that we enjoy today. The roots are deep. It's just that we aren't recognizing the value.
But,
yeah.
you know, why is the deepness of the roots even worth mentioning? A deep-rooted belief system that makes you believe that if you pray over a cracker that it turns into the body of Jesus, that can be deeply rooted in your belief system, and it can be deeply rooted in history, but it's still bullshit.
I think people like Jordan Peterson and Douglas Murray are not giving these thinkers credit for the fact that how useful they are. People don't celebrate these thinkers as much as they should. For these people saved millions of lives. I do think that if we're looking for saints, if we're looking for people to admire, the people that gave us these values, we could go and celebrate them. I'm hoping that we could reintroduce your audience to these people. So Travis, this is Cyrus's cylinder. Some people mention that this is the first declaration of human rights in history. This is 2,600 years old. Ancient Persia is a big mystery. A lot of what they understand of ancient Persia was what the Greeks wrote about Persia, which is basically your sources, the enemies of Persia. This cylinder is half PR, half like a press release, making him look good, and half a human rights declaration, which allows people there to practice their own whatever they want to practice, worship whatever they want to worship under his rule, which was a very revolutionary idea for his time. A lot of people mention that, a lot of Christians especially, that there were no human rights, there was no value, there was no understanding of the value of people's freedom or people's right to live before the Bible. King Cyrus was the first multicultural, secular king. Even if you look at some of the drawings around here, like when they see the gifts that they're bringing to the kings in the drawings there, you can see that they are celebrating their own country. And this influenced the founding fathers of the United States. Right? Thomas Jefferson told his grandson even that he needs to study King Cyrus, and the founding fathers were saying in the United States were saying that they're having the same challenge because there were many people from different countries coming to this new land. So they were referring to King Cyrus, which is what some of the Enlightenment thinkers that we think about usually as a way to be inspired, right? Which is very interesting.